The story is told of a gentleman that was hitchhiking a lift. On his back he had this very cumbersome and heavy backpack. It was difficult for him to walk, and he was standing on the way, hitchhiking, trying to get a lift. Car after car passes, nobody's interested, when all of a sudden some good Samaritan stops, lets him in. He says, "Come, I'll give you a lift." The guy heaves a sigh of relief. He gets into the front seat and he's sitting very precariously on the seat with just the edge of his body nearly on the edge of the seat. And the reason for that is because his backpack didn't allow him to sit comfortably. Anyhow, as they're traveling along and the driver sees that he's sitting so uncomfortably, he says to him, "Listen, my friend, for the same price, you can take off your backpack and put it in the back, and you sit very comfortably in the car." To which the man responds, "You're already doing me such a favor. I don't want to take advantage and insist on you giving a lift also to my backpack." I think we can all understand and appreciate the oddity of this sentiment. After all, if the driver is able to carry the man together with the backpack on him, he certainly is able to carry the man in the front seat and the backpack in the back seat. And this becomes a very important message, a message in our perspective in life. And I hope that over the next few minutes we should perhaps get a bit of an insight in this regard. This coming week on Wednesday and Thursday is the festival of Shavuot, the time when the Jewish people really became a nation by virtue of the fact that we received God's divine Torah. It's really at that point in time that the cohesion of our people became a reality, because it is the Torah which is the glue that has bound us together in terms of our relationship with one another, our relationship with our land, the land of Israel. All of that is really effectively only as a consequence of what it says in the Torah. And therefore, when we come to Shavuot, the time when we receive the Torah, this really is the most fundamental, most seminal festival around the year, because it is truly the time, more so than Pesach, when we became a nation. And it's at that point in time that we look at the environment within which the Torah was given to us. Our rabbis tell us, and it says it in Tanakh, that the Torah was given to us, be'eretz tzia v'tzalmavet. It was given in the desert, but not just a regular desert, where there may be from time to time a little bit of an oasis, some greenery, some water. This was a totally desolate environment. There was no water, there was nothing to eat. It was absolute and total desolation. Our rabbis tell us the reason why it was given in a desert is because a desert is essentially no man's land. It doesn't belong to any individual. And therefore the message that the Torah is giving us is that the Torah itself does not belong to any individual. It doesn't belong to the great rabbis of old. It doesn't belong to the rabbinic leaders of today. Anybody who spends a little bit of time studying and trying to understand the Torah, automatically it becomes their Torah. It belongs to everybody. It does not have any pre-owners, but rather potentially belongs to each and every one of us when we embrace its lessons and inculcate its values into our lives. But why such a desolate desert? That message could have come across even in a desert, as I say, which had certain vegetation. Why did it have to be without absolutely anything? Well, as with everything, there's clearly a deeper message that is supposed to be taken. We live in a very hectic life, a very hectic world. Work demands tremendous effort, energy, and time from us. It requires a focus. It requires our concentration, our devotion. And a person could turn around and say, well, I have no time for anything else. I certainly have no time to allocate to the study of Torah. I certainly have no time to allocate to the coming to shul. I have business responsibilities. And our question has to be, well, how can that individual, because that's a reality. The reality is that we do have to work, and we do have to be distracted from perpetual spiritual pursuits by virtue of the fact that we do need to go out to work to put food on the table? How are we able to balance that together with spending some time in shul every day, learning in the morning, in the evening? How do we create that balance between the material realities that we're confronting and at the same time the spiritual duty and the spiritual responsibility which each and every one of us carries on shoulders? And therefore the Torah was given to us in a desert. The Torah was given to us in a desert. The Jewish people left Egypt where it was very difficult. Life was not pleasant. But at the same time there were certain things that were given. They had food, they had drink, they had clothes. There was certain certainty that came even under those terrible conditions. And yet the Jewish people, miraculously so, were willing to follow God into a desert, as I mentioned, totally desolate from any life. And they were willing to do so and cast their faith on God, that He will indeed provide them with their needs. Our rabbis tell us that whilst they were in the desert, their clothing never became tattered. It grew with them as they grew. It was a perfect fit and never aged. The food, as we know, came from the manna in heaven. Water came from Miriam's well. In the merit of Aaron HaTzadik, in the merit of the great Aaron, the Jewish people merited to protection. The Jewish people were totally looked after. And the principle and the message that that was giving to the Jewish people then and indeed to us now is that God can and does take care of our needs. There's no question that we have to do everything in our power. We have to create what is known as a kli, as a vessel, in order to be able to receive God's abundant blessing. We can't sit back and not do any work and say, well, God is capable of providing. After all, He provided for the Jewish people 40 years in the desert. He can provide for me as well. He can. But God also needs us to do something on our own behalf. We have to go to work. But we also have to bear in mind that the same God that is able to take care of us in that regard is also the same God that is requiring from us and requesting of us that we spend some time every day focusing, connecting to our Yiddishkeit, asking ourselves whether we are developing and advancing in our religious observance, whether we have done an extra act of kindness. Have we given a little bit extra tzedakah today? Did I think about the welfare of another individual today? What did I do today that I didn't do yesterday in terms of making my life and the lives of the people around me and indeed the world a slightly better place, as a more spiritual place? And I come back to our message at the beginning. We cast our lot onto God. We ask God to take care of us in the areas that are totally beyond our ability. And if God is able to give us the lift, He's able to give us the ride of our lives, then if He is able to give us personally, He's certainly able to assist us with our baggage as well. We don't need to sit awkwardly on the roller coaster of life, not able to sit comfortably because we're carrying so much baggage, financial hardships and woes, concerns and troubles. We need to know that God is giving us the journey, and all we have to do is take it off and put it on the back seat. The same God that's giving us the ride of life can also give us the ride of success, of prosperity. We have to make a kli, we have to make a vessel. But in order for that vessel to truly be able to be a recipient of God's blessing, we have to dedicate some of our lives as well to godly pursuits. As I say, giving tzedakah, thinking about a fellow, doing an act of kindness. Each and every one of these is a way in which we turn the desert into an oasis, the hardships of life into a beauty of Torah, mitzvahs, and a divine life. Good Shabbos.